This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Morning decisions. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
And I found this beautiful leather coat. I also stopped by the Mercedes dealership and saw the new model. You know, the one I really like.
How much?
120.
Well, at that price, I want it with all the options.
Great. Oh, and one more thing. The house we wanted last year is back on the market. They're asking 1.5.
We'll make them an offer, but come in at 1.4.
Okay. I love you, baby.
I love you too.
Okay, bye.
Does anybody know whose phone this is?
Live from Joe's mom's basement, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and me and leprechauns have something in common. We're both magically delicious. Today, to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, what would be more fun than talking about life's biggest expenses and how to reduce them? You'll learn lots with our panel. Let's introduce them. Today, we welcome a man who created the greatest military silo turned doomsday bunker, J. Robert Oppenheimer. He's busy trying to figure out how to light a candle, so we just got Len Penzo. And the woman with a pen that's stronger than a credit card, Paulette Perhach. Wait, have you guys seen her use her credit cards? She's like Clint Eastwood with those things. And finally, a guy who's bringing at least his C+ game to this podcast, OG. But that's not all. But wait, there's more. We're gonna see who's lucky enough to get my trivia question. And now, a guy who loves to talk economy and blarney, it's Joe O'Sall. See hi.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, Stackers. I am Joe Saul, CI, Joe O'Sall, CI. We're all Irish today, aren't we, Doug?
Good day, mate.
Swing and a miss from Mr. OOG. Is it OOG today? Maybe not.
There's a joke there.
Oh, McG.
Oh, McG.
Had a fun.
Yes. And great day. That just went off the rails. I have no idea where to go from there. What the hell? What are we
McG. All right, we can go with that.
McG. Fantastic. It is St. Patrick's Day on the Stacking Benjamin Show. We're celebrating today with a great time and a great lineup. Not just Doug and OG, but today we also have back from the Baja Peninsula, Paulette Perhach is here. And you just had the trip of a lifetime.
I did. Hola. Yeah. 10 days off-roading and driving from San Diego down to Cabo and then back up to Tijuana and out of San Diego again. It was absolutely fantastic. And it was a lot of things I'd been working for a long time coming together, including speaking Spanish, which was great.
What do you mean by that? A lot of things coming together. Tell me what happened.
So being able to go as a reporter on this trip, skills I've learned in adventuring and being able to take care of myself out in the kind of place where you need a shovel and not complaining and, being able to be a translator for some of the teams that I rode with because no one spoke Spanish. Learning Spanish was definitely one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. So I was sending good vibes back to 26-year-old Paulette, who was under a pile of flashcards, saying, one day you're going to be able to, talk to the lady about her passion fruit margaritas and, convince her to open up so you guys can grab some at the restaurant, even though she was thinking about closing. So it was super fun.
All in Spanish.
Oh yeah. I did a 2-hour interview in Spanish. I mean, it's like I speak Spanish at this point.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
¿Dónde está la zapateria?
Muy Maybe in. And it actually inspired me. I think I was very scared to take this trip, and everything you push yourself to do, then you think bigger. And I'm like, I might want to get my translator certificate and do something with that. I don't know. Yeah, but it was awesome.
That's cool. Well, from the photos, if you don't follow Paulette on Instagram, you're missing out because that was a ton of fun with gray whales and motorcycles and campsites and just looked like a great time. Speaking of a great time, you know who else is here? Len Penzo's here. That's who. How are you, man?
Hey, happy St. Patty's Day. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to shamrock and roll. So let's get this shillelagh going.
Get this old shillelagh moving on St. Patty's Day. We're all good to go. I see that you've started with the vodka already at 3 p.m. Central Time.
Yeah, that's a good Irish drink, isn't it?
The old Irish vodka.
Well, for people that are new to the show, we've got 2 things you have to learn. Number 1 is we have a quick break at the beginning to do this. In business, there is no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. And when you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, the last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. From the moment your package is first scanned in, it moves through a secure nationwide network, aiding in a timely and accurate delivery. You get near real-time tracking so you can keep up with your shipments. And with affordable upfront pricing, there are no hidden fees or surprise surcharges to throw off your cost sheets. It all adds up to predictable deliveries you can depend on, because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else, your customers, your team, and the future you're building. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS Ground Advantage. We mean business. I had a breakfast mentoring meeting yesterday with a young woman who was just amazing. She is graduating from college with a degree in wealth management, and she reached out hoping for some pointers. And listen, if somebody's in Texarkana and wants to go into this beautiful field of personal finance and helping people get their money together, that is incredible. But even more incredible is how she reached out, how she was trying to network. And I was having a discussion that finding the right person and avoiding the wrong person for a role, that's what can make or break an organization. And we just don't see that many qualified people. So how do you find them? Well, Indeed sponsored jobs is a boost whenever you need to find quality talent. If you're hiring, Indeed is all you need. You can stop struggling to get your job post even seen on other sites. You'll match with quality candidates with Indeed's sponsored jobs. Get matched with and hire quality candidates who can drive the results you need. Reach candidates who meet your specific criteria like skills, certifications, or location. It drives me crazy when I'm matched with all kinds of people who aren't a fit. I don't have that kind of time. People are finding quality hires on Indeed right now. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 95% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all the boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored job. And here's what's cool, Stackers. You're going to get $75 in sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support Stacking Benjamins by saying you heard about Indeed right here at Stacking Benjamins. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. And then the second thing you need to know is that every once in a while we have a game show, which is a fantastic way to learn about a topic and have a little fun at the same time. We have a year-long competition going on with our contributors here, Paulette, OG, and Len. And the game show allows us to double the points on today's show. So 1 point for the winner of the game show, 1 point for the winner of today's trivia. And at the same time, we're going to learn a little bit about life's biggest expenses. We have a piece here. I'm not going to tell you where it's from until the end. And the rules, guys, for our game show go like this. These are 10 of the biggest expenses you're going to have during your life and how to reduce them. Now, I will tell you, sometimes it's a category of expenses. Sometimes it's a single expense on this. But these are the 10 biggest expenses in life and how to reduce them. I'm going to read from the beginning of this piece so you get a little hint. We live in a capitalistic, materialistic society. The average American citizen will acquire debt before they hit their 20s and keep it for as long as they live. A lot of this debt stems from poor decisions and excessive spending, but many of life's essential expenses will also drag you out of the black and into the red. Fortunately, there are ways to reduce these costs and potentially save you hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. So here's the mission. We're going to do 3 rounds, guys. We'll do round 1 for a single point, round 2 for 2 points, and then the big round 3 for 3 points with a few that might be left on this list of the 10 biggest expenses that you will have during your lifetime. Everybody got it?
May I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
Are they singular expenses or are they...
Sometimes they are.
I mean, you said category, so a category of
sometimes
a lifetime
they're category-ish. They're a type of expense.
Like cigarettes.
Yes, where if you control this single thing, you will spend a heck of a lot less money.
Brazilian butt lift on there? Yeah.
Well, that was Doug's number 1, but you'll have to answer that officially.
I just saw from Doug's GoFundMe. It seemed like it was a really expensive one.
By the way, on today's show, we're going to do this in order of who has the high score will go last because of the fact that it's a little bit harder to go last. So that means the score right now is OG 3, Len 2, Paulette 2. And so Paulette, because you finished 3rd last year, that means you get to go first while all 10 choices are on the board. So first answer for 1 point, what's one of life's biggest expenses that we can maybe talk about reducing?
Housing.
Is housing on the list? Buying a house is the number 2 expense, Paulette, of all these expenses. In fact, this particular website says that housing will cost you $226,000 on average. Of course, that's just for one house, right? You might have even more than that. They write that a home is the biggest single purchase the average person will make in their lifetime. It's also the most important asset that could make you rich or poor and will improve your credit situation. So, Paulette, what's a way that we can reduce our housing expense?
Move from Seattle to Florida.
Wow, spoken like somebody with a little knowledge of that situation.
Yeah, move somewhere with a lower cost of living, have shared housing and roommates, or, turn your garage into a little, what do they call it? A little auxiliary housing unit. Or, just take it down a notch, live somewhere tiny, like my tiny apartment I had in Seattle that one time.
OG or Len, you guys have any to add to that? How do we lower our housing expense? The number 2 expense that we will have during our lifetime.
I think Paulette nailed it. I was going to say, buy a smaller home. I know that's what I did. I have a relatively small home. It's just barely 2,000 square feet. I see a lot of people these days, even with they might have one child or no children at all, and they have these 3,000, 4,000 square foot homes. You're paying by the square foot when you buy that house, and it just jacks up the price.
And then there's so many things ripple out from that, like the lawn care, getting it cleaned is more expensive. Yes. If you want to have a cleaner, taxes, like there's just so many things that ripple out from that.
Yep. Maintenance. Yep.
I feel like I'm going to fail this.
Do you have one, OG?
Oh, I mean, about the house stuff. I mean, yeah, what Paulette said, obviously reduce your housing expenses by being a little bit smarter. I was thinking about it in terms of the money aspect of it too. Part of the cost associated with buying a house is the fact that you got to pay 3 or 4 times the cost of it to the bank to own it. And so the faster that you can shorten that period down, the more money you're not paying to the bank, that's the more money that's in your pocket. It doesn't seem that way because you have to pay a higher payment, right? If you go from 30 to 15-year mortgage or you pay extra on your house or something like that, it doesn't seem like you're saving money. But in the grand scheme of your entire life, when you go to get that mortgage and that box says, this is your total payments, and it's got 2 commas in it, you want to, most of that's interest to the bank. If you can figure out.
Yeah, I was going to say not this very minute, but there are a lot of times when you should look into refinancing and reducing your rate. I mean, may not be right now, but if you just had to buy a house in the last 6 to 8 months, in 18 to maybe 36 months from now, there's a chance that you can drop a point or two potentially.
Yeah, that can be a long ways, Doug. I mean, the older you get, and if the rates are high, you can really do a lot of savings. I remember my payment on this house when I first bought it was $1,400. It was like, I think the interest rate was 8%, 7%. And over time, I got that down to, I think my last refi was 2.75%. So, that brought the payment down to $480. So, and of course you're paying over time too, especially if you're making extra payments, you're bringing down that principal. It really does snowball the savings over time. Right. So like right now when we have interest rates are higher, it's okay. I know a lot of people are lamenting the high interest rates for their mortgages, but you can refinance. That's, I'd almost rather buy a house at a high interest rate and refinance down than buy at a lower cost. I guess it'd be about the same cost because you're buying payments than overpaying for a house with a lower interest rate. I think you actually have more flexibility the other direction.
Yeah, that total cost is going to be probably more by buying too big of a house with a lower interest rate.
Yeah.
Versus being smarter about your decision making now and then buying down the rate, so to speak, as you're able to make better decisions on the money aspect of it.
Yes.
Len, having been to your house a couple times, your home reminds me of a book that became a bestseller on architecture called The Not So Big House, which I'd encourage everybody to read because it is a really cool way to look at housing and the fact that this dollar per square foot measurement that we use in real estate is so flawed, and you can get a much more comfortable house. And if you focus more on a comfortable house than on a big house with a bunch of unusable space, you're going to make lots better decisions because your house, Len, is awesome. And it's a quality, very comfortable place to live, like a great place to eat lasagna.
I use all the rooms. Like I do have friends with big houses and I know they have rooms they never even, they don't use them for anything other than storage, So, it makes you wonder, well, why did you buy this huge house?
Yeah. Len, while you're up, so Paulette takes the early lead with 1. Let's see if you can tie her here in the first round. What's another of the 9 that are left on this list of big expenses?
Gosh, there's one more than housing. That's interesting. I think I know what the answer is, but I think I'm going to go for the low. I think it might be tricky too. The answer, the number 1 is that maybe people aren't thinking. I'm going to leave that. I'm going to guess that OG or Paulette won't come up with it. So I'm going to go something I think is a little more obvious. I'm going to say college.
Is college on the list? College is the number 8 expense on this list.
I just made it. Wow, really? That's number 8.
8th most expensive.
Interesting.
They write about college. A college education is expensive. There we go. It's why the average American has non-mortgage debt of nearly $40,000 and why many young adults have masses of debt before they even secure their first full-time job. However, it's also considered a form of good debt, they say, as it can potentially increase your net worth. A few years ago, a study by Georgetown University found a college graduate earns $1 million more than their non-college educated counterparts throughout their lifetimes. Let's talk about this. How do we reduce the cost of college, Len?
Well, I'm not. Okay, I guess one way to do it is if you can, some degrees can be gotten at a place as low as like a community college. My daughter, who's in school right now to be a vet tech, she's 2 months away from getting it. Her degree is actually, you get it at a community college. If you can't get the degree at the community college and you have to go a little higher up, you can go to, say, a state college rather than a higher university. Like in California, the California state colleges are cheaper than the University of California. And then, of course, avoid those Ivy League schools. Those private schools are way more expensive too. So there are, quote, bargain colleges. I think one of the most important things, though, everybody should do, and I don't think they do it, is make sure you check your return on investment for any degree you're going after. Look at your income over your career and then compare that to the amount of you're going to pay for that degree, and check your payback period and make sure you have a payback period that's relatively short. So before you jump into college, because there are other alternatives, and that's not going to college. Maybe you go to a trade school or I know there's plumbers and electricians and carpenters making six figures easy these days. So
I was excited. Like, my nephew is in the Navy right now and gets out in a year. And I asked if he's going to re-up because he really enjoys it. He says, no, he's going to use what he's learned in the Navy to become a plumber. He's going to immediately go into plumbing. And man, what a job he's got waiting for him.
Yep. Mechanics, another one. That's another great vocational job.
I'll agree with you, except for this. I think if you're not going into debt, if you have a way to do it, like sometimes the ROI in college is I want to be a better human, or I want to be you know what I mean? I want a fuller life. If you're going into debt to go to college, well, then that would be a problem because the ROI might not be there, right? But if you're not, there's some people that go to college for different reasons. But certainly if it's to get a job after you graduate, well, then I think the ROI is super important. OG, a way to make college cheaper on top of what Len mentioned?
Yeah, I'm going to look at this again from the money aspect of it. If you start saving $100 a month per year of school, so $400 a month from the time your kid's born till 18, you'll be able to accumulate somewhere in the neighborhood of about $200,000 or $215,000 that could be used for college. That maybe gives you all the money you need for a state school, or maybe it gives you half the money you need for Harvard. I don't know. But you're going to save a boatload of money in exchange for $86,000 of cost. So your $400 a month for 18 years is $86,000, but use the power of compounding to turn it into 200 and something thousand. So you've gotten that extra $120,000, $130,000 of extra money, extra tuition for nothing, just by saving $400 into your college fund. So early and often, that's how you lower the cost. Not that 86,000 is not a lot of money; that's a whole bunch. But in the comparison against what you have instead on the back end,
that ties it up. Well, actually, one more thing, Len, to add on to what you said. Also, not just trade schools, but a lot of the time, a great friend of mine spent his first 2 years at a community college, just getting those, those huge credits where you've got a room with 100 people in it, instead a smaller classroom, much lower cost per credit hour. That works as well.
Yeah, that's a great idea. A lot of people, and I did that myself, do your general ed at the community colleges if you can, as long as the credits transfer over to the next, if you want to go up to the bigger school. Yeah, that's another great idea.
So the score now, Paulette with 1, Len with 1, OG. We got 8 left on the board. What's a big cost of living that we can maybe try to make less expensive?
Golly, both of those were on my list, so it's dwindling down quite a bit. I'm going to go with healthcare is a big cost throughout one's life.
I think that's number 1.
Is healthcare on the list? It is on the list. We're going to allow it, Doug, because it is number 5. Because when he talks about healthcare, it's buying insurances is on the list.
Okay.
So we're going to widen this, and the judges are okaying that one.
That's probably prudent judging, Joe.
But Len, to your point, that's not number 1. You thought that was number
shocked.
1, Len?
I thought it was number 1 for sure.
Yeah. I thought it was number 1. I was going to hold off on that one. I didn't think anybody, for some reason, I just thought everybody else would overlook it. I thought that was number 1. Okay. So it shows you what I know.
I have a clue to what number 1 is, but as soon as I say it.
No.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
Can't do it. Now, not just your health insurance, but also when we look at your car insurance, your homeowner's insurance, your life insurance, disability, over the course of your life, buying insurances is just a ton of money. In fact, I think they underestimate this, Doug, on this list that you and I can see that they can. It says $50,000.
I think there are several that are underestimated, but this one is considerable.
Over your lifetime?
Oh, my God, that's way cheap. Are you kidding me?
Low. I know, right?
Yeah.
I was just doing it for me. It was $20,000 for me and the wife. It was, if I didn't have my company health care, which, I wouldn't have retired without it. But I was looking at $20,000 for me and the honeybee a year for health insurance.
Yeah.
But look at how unhealthy you are, Len, and your advanced age.
The box of cigars every day is not helping, Len.
Thanks,
Joe. Not do it.
Thanks, Doug.
Let's lower the cost of all your insurances. What's a good tip for our stacker community to lower their insurance cost?
Well, I mean, I'm going through this right now. We got our renewal home and car insurance. It's up in a few weeks, and it was just a small increase of roughly 350%. So, yeah, how about no? Shopping. So you definitely have to shop around. You got to make sure you got the right coverage, right? I mean, you can't just go to, whatever the state minimum is. That's not going to solve your problem if something bad happens. But I would have noticed that. But a lot of times payments are on auto pay or it comes out of your mortgage, your house insurance. It's just part of your escrow, and they go, oh, escrow went up. You got to pay an extra $100 this month. You just kind of let it go, but you should shop around for those sorts of things. And on the health insurance side of things, which we also pay a boatload of money for because of the company, just being healthy, like making smart health decisions will help lower those costs because you'll spend less time in doctor's offices and tests and all that other sort of stuff as best you can. Can't avoid accidents, but then that'll help, your rating as time goes on.
Do you work for a really crappy employer, OG, who doesn't pay much for your health insurance?
One of them pays very little.
So expensive.
One of my employers pays almost nothing, next to nothing. As a matter of fact, the benefits package is awful.
Look at the time. We got to move.
And then I've got one more too. That's somewhat overlooked. That's tied to this, which is your credit score. More often than not, insurance companies are running a credit report, and they've got some data to support bad credit people tend to have higher claims, although I can't seem to think how that checks, but apparently it does. Or it's just a way to screw people who have crappy credit, which could be the case also. But I do know that the higher credit you have, the better your insurance rates will be. So if you keep your credit in check, your rates will go back up.
Back to shopping and the fact that a lot of these things are on autopilot, right? I mean, we've talked about checking your subscriptions from time to time, going through your bank statements, finding out what things are automatically coming out of your bank account. The insurance is doing that often, means that we don't check. And I've had insurance agents tell me, OG, to your point, that check after your birthday, because often companies like people that are between age X and age Y, and you may move out of that band and through no fault of your own besides aging. It might be more about who the insurance is targeting.
Maybe that's the reason.
You're getting old.
Or my son that drove the car through the living room. But
I don't
one
think
of those two things were the reason.
I think driving a car through the wall of your house has anything to do with your premium going up.
Yeah, I don't know.
Why would that,
maybe
Why would that have anything to do with that? Paulette or Len, you guys have any other tips on top of OGs to save money on your insurances?
I found out that through health insurance, they often have people who will, brokers who will help you think through it. And that was really helpful to talk to someone for free who is there just to help you figure out the whole insurance system.
I like that, Paulette, because we talked to a guy from Minnesota Insurance Brokers on a live event we had on Fireside a couple months ago. And this guy brought so much knowledge and saved people that were there live so much money. And what do we do with insurances? We immediately avoid humans now. We immediately, I don't want to talk to somebody. I'm going to go ahead and, but once we got him chatting and he knew what he was talking about, he could save people tons of money. So having a qualified person, I like that. Len, how about you?
Yeah, well, I want to echo the broker. We have a broker. She's done a great job always finding us the cheapest insurance. She sends us a Christmas card every year.
And a calendar.
Before we had the broker, I found that, well, of course, you can always raise deductibles. That's an easy one, too, to lower your premiums. But I also found that without the broker, about every 3 years or so, it was good to just switch companies because it seems like your competing insurance companies wanted your business, and they would give you a really good deal if you switched over to a completely new company every couple of years. Once you stayed with a company for a long time, they tend to not give you those breaks anymore. That was what I found anyways. But I think like Paulette said, the broker is just, I think that's the way to go. Get your insurance through broker.
Because insurances, Len, are required to insure a swath of people. They're not allowed to discriminate against the Penzo family, although I would. I mean, if it were me, but they're not because they're not allowed to. I think it's the birthday thing. I think it's the fact that you move out of the target market during that 3-year period that is why that all changed.
Maybe, but there's always another company that just came in, after a few years, ridiculously under what I was paying at the old company.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, why?
And the reason for that, Len, is because kind of what Joe's saying is they have to diversify that pool, right? If they go, well, we've got a whole bunch of people in San Diego, but we don't have enough in LA. We need to even this out. They'll run incentive pricing to kind of even that risk pool out. And then on the broker side of things, they'll also incentivize the brokers to say, hey, kind of throw us some new business and we'll give you a free trip to Cabo, or something, which is, it is what it is. It's fine as long as you get a good deal out of it, I suppose. But to Joe's point, they can't really discriminate based on being Len Penzo.
That is the end of our first round. Let's review the score. Paulette has 1. Len has 1. OG has 1. We're going to double the stakes in round 2.
Steak.
Paulette, your second guess. We now have 7 of them left on the board. What appears in this piece is one of the big cost of living that we can reduce?
I'm going to say, I don't know if what if I guess something, but it doesn't count because it's hard to say if it's like an expense.
That would be a wrong answer.
Then you get no points.
Wrong.
You get 0 points.
We hit the
All right,
buzzer.
I'm going to say food. I'm going to say human food.
Does food costs make the top 10 list?
What?
Who wrote this
Which
list?
is interesting
Really?
because when we talk, all the time we say your 3 biggest expenses, right? Your 3 biggest expenses are home. These guys have it as number 2. Another one that may or may not be on here, and your third one, which is groceries. Grocery bills don't make this
Do
particular
we know
list.
this list is not trash?
I'm on Team Paulette here.
No, it came from trash.com.
Right.
So
The fun thing I like about our game shows is that often people like you bring up these expenses that should be on these lists. A lot of times these lists we work from our trash, but the only thing we play from is it on the list? And it is not. But food costs, certainly for a lot of us, we think it's in the top 3. Len, you've done a lot of pieces on controlling your food costs. In fact, you do those taste tests I'm never invited to.
You know what? We've got to get together and somehow we got to get the gang together here. All of us, the whole crew,
yes,
producers, everybody, and do a taste. We got to figure out a way to make that work. So, but yes, my taste test.
yeah,
Okay.
you name it. I'm a lasagna expert.
You guys
so
coming
I'm
to
here
Southern
for that.
Cal?
Whenever the lasagna is being made, yeah.
All right. Hey, but seriously, those taste tests have shown many, many times the blind taste test that you can save a lot of money by going with the store brand, and it tastes just as good, if not better.
So in our house, we have the blind taste test of water. My kids swear by the fact that they can tell the difference between fridge water and tap water. And I'm like, you cannot tell the difference between fridge water and tap water. And they're like, yes, I can. And so we have done.
I actually did that. I did that challenge.
Have you? Both of my boys and my wife, you could have 25 glasses in a row that are mixed up and they would go 25-0 every single time we've done. I'm like, no. And I'll do 3 of them, but they're all tap water. I'll go, which one's the fridge water? Ha ha. Which one is it? He'll go, none of them. I mean, they know it. I don't get it. So it's got to come out of the fridge. At least they didn't pick Evian or Perrier or something.
Yeah.
But
Fiji.
Yes. That's mine.
Let's lower some food costs because Paulette, I think that belongs on the list. Man, for me, meal prepping was a big one. How about for you?
Oh yeah, I'm a huge bulk cooker. Like I have so much Tupperware, and I cook. When I cook a meal usually like double or triple the recipe, and then freeze a bunch. Because when I'm in the mood to cook, I'm in the mood to cook. And then when I'm running my freelance business and stuff, I just want to grab something out of the freezer often. And that is really great for me. And then also going vegetarian or is great.
Oh, 1 star. Can't do that.
Unsubscribe.
I am a mostly vegetarian eater. Like I love steak. But I probably 70% to 75% of my meals are vegetarian.
I'm mostly vegetarian, but I love steak. I love chicken, but I don't eat fish. That's disgusting.
I do. It's not about. No, listen, it is not about the ethics. It's about the environment, the cost, and my health. So if you can 75% have vegetarian meals, then that's fine. It's not a label on myself that like I am a vegetarian. I eat vegetarian about 75% of the time.
So many people say that, and yet I find myself not able to resist the lure of the hamburger with regular meat on it.
It's delicious.
Haven't been able to do that yet. Let's move on. Len, your second pick.
Oh, well, let's see. I didn't have food on the list. Okay. Now, I'm going to say, well, I don't know if can you hear that honking in the background?
A little bit.
I'm going to say, I don't know, somehow or another, this is probably going to backfire on me. I'm going to say automobile.
Is automobile on the list?
Oh, it is.
That is the number 7 expense on this list. In fact, it says Americans spend close to $35,000 on new cars, around 90% of which is financed. There's a huge debt for anyone to bear. And while it does provide a sizable asset, and it's an asset that rapidly depreciates. Len, how do we make a better car buying decision that will save us some money?
Well, the key word there you said was depreciates. It's like, I don't know what it is. Does a car lose 30 or 40% of its value as soon as you drive it off the lot? You might be better off if buying a car that's 2 years old, and you can probably save a lot of money. I know my dad used to do that when I was a kid. He'd always buy a 1 or 2 year old car, and then he'd keep it for 20 years, and
so your dad bought one car when you were a kid?
What's that?
Well, you're like, my dad used to do this, like intimating that he was doing it all the time. Yeah, he did this all the time. Like
he was, but we had multiple cars, right? We had one for my mom, and we had one for my dad,
then.
right?
Okay.
So that's 2 cars. But
Len lived at home until 6 years ago. So.
Yeah, well, that's true.
That's how he saved money on housing right there. Yes. Forget the smaller house. He just lived with mom. Paulette, saving money on cars?
Yeah. Well, now that have gone off-roading and I need a brand new Bronco, I'm not going to be much help here. But, I just think sticking with what you actually need and trying to question, like, if there's ego around your car and checking your ego there. Like, I've definitely driven some crappy cars, and I think people have a lot of ego around their car. And it's like, what do you really need to get around, rather than, is this like a representation of your personality and who you are? I mean, we all joke about the $50,000 loud truck with the freaking fart can on the back. We're like, it's very transparent and very expensive form of ego boost.
It is lucky for you that you got into the Baja thing and off-roading thing versus I'm a Formula One fan. Like, I'm looking for the used McLaren. How do I get the Ferrari at a lower expense? I
like that Paulette pointed out the whole ego attachment to our cars. I think maybe we should all take a lesson from Hollywood, and we could all drive Priuses and then just have a jet parked off to the side, and then we can fly the jet around. But when you're around town, you look like you have a low ego and you're just driving like a little tiny fuel efficient car.
Well, these are all like arrows pointed at me. Every one of these is like housing costs and cars, and
just save. I won't ask you then, OG.
Yeah, you better
or do you got one for us?
Yeah, no.
You're up next.
No, I mean, just buy used. Just buy used. Unless it's recently. The last couple of years, buying used was not a great idea. But again, I'm just going back to the interest component of it.
All right, Len takes the lead now with 3 points. OG, can you tie him before we go into the break?
We are running out of options. Could you remind the audience what numbers are still available on the list? Is that allowed?
I can.
We have number 10, 9, 6, 4, 3, and 1 are still on the list.
What is it? 10, 9, 6, 4,
3, and 1.
Gotcha. Food wasn't one. Golly.
I know.
I guess maybe you just have to count. Maybe food's not maybe that person doesn't eat food.
There are 2 on this list that I think are BS.
All right. I'm going to throw one out there. I'm going to go daycare expenses or childcare expenses of some kind.
Is child expenses on the list? That is the number one expense on this entire list, because that's under the umbrella of raising a child.
Yeah.
The most expensive thing this list says you can do is to raise a child. A child can cost close to $250,000 from birth to age 17. I think my kid ate that by the time he was 6.
Yeah, that's
I know.
You pay extra for housing, utilities, food, clothing, and healthcare, and you also have to factor daycare and education in the mix. So raising a child, the number one expense they have here.
$233,000 is how much it costs to sign your kid up for a travel soccer team now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
True. I mean, it's expensive.
Wasn't one of the things like $50,000? Oh, the insurance they said was $50,000. I know people that spend $25,000 a year on daycare for the first 3, 4, 5 years of a kid's life, and then if you have 2, you're kind of
we were doing that 20 years ago.
Yeah, so I mean, that number's
that's easy to do.
Daycare costs.
So, OG, how do we lower the cost of raising a kid? Do you say stop
get
at
them
2?
to work?
Condoms.
Yeah, get them to work. I call them my little Ferraris. But that's not far off, I guess. I mean, all of the things that we've talked about so far, we can apply to the context of child raising, which is, do all the kids need bedrooms? Can they share a bedroom? Do they all need their own bathrooms? Can they share a bathroom? Do you have to have the 7-person SUV, or can a 4-person sedan be okay?
And one kid right on the top.
Yes. Can you tie one in the trunk? Pop the trunk when they get to school, and little Johnny runs out like, see you at 3:00.
And here comes the Child Protection Services.
Kidding.
Coming to take kids away.
Oh, that's an option. Having
no, that is not
having the state
having
your
the
children
state
become
take care
wards
of
of the
some
state.
of them for a period of time. You can kind of, sort of, for sure get them back. Too far.
Maybe not an option. Len or Paulette, ideas to lower the cost of raising children?
Well, I think that going for like used things and keeping it very low key when they're too
kids?
young.
Going
used
for
kids.
used ones.
No, like buying, it's like I think of like Liz Frugal Woods and like buying things secondhand, before they're old enough to know any different is a great idea. And also not having them. That's my best.
Len, how about you?
You know what? I really don't know. Just have less of them, I guess.
Same as Paulette.
To me, I don't even. I think kids are great, and I don't even think that should. I mean, that's just the cost is the cost, and that's something you shouldn't worry about. I wish I had. I've told my family. I wish we had 3 kids. We purposely stopped at 2 because of the cost.
I wish we had more. Yeah.
Boy, if I had to do it over again, I would have another
5 or 6 of them. Absolutely.
Oh, not me.
Yeah. I mean, if I could, I'd have 10. I really would if I could.
I have a friend of mine that has 11 kids.
OG really just wants to try to have kids.
We planned on having 1 and ended up with twins. So there you go. There it is. All right. At the end of the first 2 rounds, we got 1 round to go after our break for our famous trivia contest. The score, Paulette has 1. Len and OG both have 3. But you know what?
I was robbed.
The third round is going to be 3 points. So everybody's still in it. We're going to have that next. However, before we do that, time to score another point, which is every Friday on this show, we have a trivia contest between our 3 contributors here. And I love it when they all get together because, well, so far we've got OG with 3 points, Len with 2, Paulette with 2. And I love the head-to-head competition, which we get about once every 6 weeks. So here it is, Warriors. Our trivia question for today, Doug, what's on tap?
Hey there, stackers. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and gotta say, learning is way more fun when you've got a pint in your hand. Wish my teachers didn't put the kibosh on that for me in the 6th grade. Oh, relax, people. It was probably Capri Sun. Look, I know who may have started that no drinking in school tradition. Today in history, Joseph Lloyd, an Irishman, was the first school teacher in Cincinnati, establishing a log cabin near Sycamore Street. The question is, in what year did he establish that school? I'll be right back after I try to get this green dye out of my eyebrows.
So the reason why we have Cincinnati trivia today is while you are off celebrating St. Patrick's Day, I'm celebrating it as well, but I'm not just doing this. I'm also at the Economy Conference in Cincinnati. So we're celebrating Cincinnati, celebrating St. Patrick's Day, and the fact that a lot of Irish people settled Cincinnati, which I didn't know, Doug, until we researched this trivia question.
So you went to all the bars.
I've made sure to study, which is probably what I'm doing while everybody's listening to this at 6 a.m. on Friday morning. But Paulette, you get to go last. Len goes second. Oh, gee, you're kicking us off, man. In Cincinnati, what year did Joseph Lloyd establish the first school in Cincinnati?
First school in Cincinnati. I mean, probably before 1940, World War II time.
Is this a private school? What kind of school?
It was a log cabin regular school. It was the first
TV repair school, Len. What do you mean, what kind of school? Who the hell cares what kind of school it was?
I don't know. Is it like a college, or was it like an elementary school?
It was a log cabin primary school, like an elementary,
all right,
K through 12 kind of school.
Okay.
I'm going to say that the answer is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 1784. Columbus sailed the ocean floor. That's how you remember that.
1784, and a rhyme that may or may not work. Len, how about you? What do you think of that guess? 1784.
I don't know. Log cabin. Let's see. Abe Lincoln was born in a log cabin. Let's see. So log cabins. So that was probably Illinois and the.
When did they invent log cabins?
When were logs created?
Yeah. No. Well, let's see. I think Ohio was the 14th state. I think it was the first state after the 13 colonies. And to be a state, you had to have a population, a pretty, some minimum population. So it was probably in the late 1700s or the early 1800s. I'm going to say 17. I don't want to get sandwiched too badly. I'll say 1799.
1799, the day Columbus did dine, to use OG's analogy. I have no idea. Paulette, that's quite a field goal you got there.
It is. Which way do I go on either side? First school. But it's Cincinnati. Dang. Something tells me it's earlier, but something tells me it might be later.
Something tells me it's in the middle.
No. I doubt it.
You've got all of the expansive history below.
I do.
All of the expansive present
cabins.
history.
Schools. I'm going to go 1800, but I feel like it might be earlier. Such an emotional roller coaster.
Are you doing it? You locking that in?
I'm doing it, locking it in.
A glass case of emotion.
1800. 1784, 1799, 1800. Who's right? We'll find out in just a minute.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
You didn't start a business just to keep the lights on. You're here to sell more today than yesterday. You're here to win. Lucky for you, Shopify built the best converting checkout on the planet. Like the just one tapping, ridiculously fast acting, sky-high sales stacking, champion of checkouts. That's the good stuff right there. So if your business is in it to win it, win with Shopify. Start your free trial today at shopify.com/win.
Oh, gee, you kicked this off with 1784. You feeling good?
I'm going with the fact that there were probably people there who wanted to go to school that early. I don't know. because I thought about the statehood and all that stuff, but I thought there were schools before there were states. So that's how I picked it.
Len, you in a state of feeling good about this guess?
No, I have no clue. I have no clue whatsoever.
And Paulette, 1800, if it was
I don't feel good about
1940.
it.
And now she feels horrible about it. Well, let's see let's see whose feeling is right
such
on.
It's such a softball. And
Doug, what have you got?
Hey there, stackers. I'm corned beef eating and jig dancing Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. The Irish have a long tradition in Cincinnati, so of course, Joe's magically there at Economy while he's simultaneously here with us. So what year did Irishman Joseph Lloyd start teaching in Cincinnati? Lucky for you, I got the answer. First of all, Len, you were wrong twice in this because Vermont was the 14th state. Ohio was, I believe, the 17th state. But, you're in the range. We have Paulette, who was just 9 years off with her guess of 1800, and Len, who was 8 years off, and OG, who was 7 years off with his guess.
wow.
Leading us, if you've done the trigonometry by now, you know the answer is 1791, and OG is our winner.
I'm impressed.
That's so dumb.
I would have said like 1300 if I hadn't had that anchoring.
And Paulette, I gave it to you. I said, what if it's in between? What if it's in between?
That's ridiculous.
I tried.
Couldn't do that. You did try.
I tried. I'm a helper.
Bananas.
You're welcome.
Sweet.
Yes.
Go team.
All right, man. And that means that next week things are going to get interesting. OG now has 4, Len 2, Paulette 2. But you know what? It's actually going to get interesting before that because Paulette or Len could get that point right back. I can feel the tension as we go to the final round of our
I got uninvited
game.
from Len's lasagna tasting. I could tell just the look.
It just
like the loss by 1. That one stung. That one stung.
Yeah.
Here we go. We're on the final round. This is for 3 points. We still have 6 on the board, or 5 on the board, rather. The number 10, 9, 6, 4, and 3 answers are left. Paulette with a chance to take the lead with 3 points. This will give you 4, while Len and OG have 3. What's an expense? One of the biggest categories of expenses.
All right, I'm going to say this, but I'm really scared it's not included, and I'm going to be mad. Retirement.
Is retirement an expense on this list?
You better say yes, because she's going to be really mad.
I'm going to slam this computer closed if it's not.
I want to say yes, because based on all the other stuff, Doug, that we talked about, it should be on this list. It is not.
It's not on the list.
This list sucks.
It is not.
Kind of does.
On this list.
No, Paulette, you're taking my role. Usually I'm the one that's picking up, I think, good answers, and they're not on there. So thank you for taking over for me this time.
Yeah, Paulette really got hosed this time. That's based on the ones that wait till you see what's on this list. So,
what is it? Toenail clippers?
But yes, toenail clippers. No.
Number 1.5.
Making retirement less expensive. How do we optimize our retirement? I think we talk about that a lot here. So I think we'll let that one go because so many ways that we talk about every day on this show. Let's go into, though, Len, for a chance to take the lead here.
To me, this is so obvious, but something tells me, it might not be on there, but to me, it's.
Why? Just because retirement wasn't on there?
Well,
or groceries, which everybody says is number 3?
To me, this is obvious, but I can see lots of ways around this where they'd say, no, that's not true. I'm going to say weddings.
Does weddings make the list? Weddings is the number 9 expense.
I snuck in there.
Len owns the bottom of this list.
Yeah, well, that's all right.
Len bottom feeding. They write, weddings are one of the biggest expenses that don't increase your net worth. It's an expense used to celebrate togetherness and to create memories that ostensibly will remain with your guests forever. In actual fact, average adult attends 3 weddings a year. No matter how much money you invest in making yours special, your guests will struggle to differentiate it from those other weddings in 20, 10, or even 5 years. Len, you think that's true? Does that feel true?
Yeah. Well, I've seen people waste so much money. To me, it's for one day. It's a big waste of money. I think it's absolutely crazy. You know, I'm going to give my daughter, for example, I'm going to say, hey, I'll expend for your wedding if you want. You can have this, you know, or I can give you the money and you can put it toward a down payment towards a house or whatever. I'd rather you do that than blow it all on one day. But that's just me. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who disagree and think it's a big special day that's worth, you know, spending tons of money on. I'm not one of those people, though.
I used to yet, Len, to your point, when I was a financial planner and clients would tell me that their child was getting married, I would tell them to do the preemptive strike, to tell them how much money they were giving to the wedding, period. This is, hey, congratulations, here's my contribution, before you got sucked into the drama of everything's just a little more expensive than they want it to be, and it's not their money. So do the preemptive strike move. OG, what's a way to lower wedding costs?
Ha 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 ha. Let's talk.
What do you
Let's
mean?
talk to OG about saving money.
He's like, can't do that either.
Yeah. Geez, saving money on weddings. I mean, just don't have it be a big giant party. Like we went to a wedding of a friend of mine who could have done it like done it all up, but it was like a fun backyard party at a nice place, but not the Ritz-Carlton. And the food was barbecue instead of, whatever plated tenderloin medallions or something. And it was every bit as fun by having those second tier, air quotes, things than a big old party at a fancy hotel or something would have been. So,
but you know what? OG friends of mine went the exact opposite way and had a wonderful wedding where they had it at a beautiful inn. They had phenomenal food, first class stuff, but they did the opposite. They limited the guest list to 40 people.
Oh, there's a way to go.
That wouldn't work well for me because I'm usually not in the top 40 of anybody's list. So I wouldn't have anything to do all summer, but I understand that could be a way for
But I like that line of reasoning, OG. Now, in hindsight, I had a brother. So we got married in the early 90s when the big weddings were still all the rage. Everybody wanted to try to max out the wedding because I'm a princess, or And so I had a brother who said, just have a pig roast and get a great band and have a great time. And we scoffed at that and thought, oh, that's such a Kevin thing to say, because he was all about the party. But now in hindsight, what do we remember? We remember the people that were there. We remember the great band, because we did have a sweet band, and that's it. We don't remember the food we had. We don't remember the cake. We don't remember the flowers that were on the table. None of that matters. Just have an event or a venue that promotes great socialization and a great time. That's what you're going to remember 10 years later.
Paulette, way to lower the cost?
I think do just have it be like a big fun party with your friends. That's like, I don't know, like trying to impress anyone is probably, again, like that ego or needing it to be perfect, because it is just one day. And then I think people get there and then they're like, oh, it's just another day, so really focus on what makes it fun. My cousin had an amazing band at her party and it was super fun. So I second what Doug says about an amazing band. Open bar, amazing band. That's about it.
It's funny because I think of the best weddings I went to, it was the party factor that made it a good time. So solve for party. I think that could be this crew of people too. That might have something to do with who we are as well. All right, OG, it's the big moment. Is Len going to crawl 1 point back, or are you going to tie him right now and send this to a tiebreaker?
I just don't know based on this list. I've got two that I'm thinking of. So I guess one could be my tiebreak one. I'm gonna say pets. Some people spend a lot of money on pets. I don't know. It seems like pets are expensive.
To tie, do pets make the list?
Son of a gun.
Pets not on.
My other one was clothing.
You don't get to say that.
Well, it's over.
Clothing also not on the list.
I'm with Paulette. This is a stupid list.
Hey, let's do this. Len Penzo is our winner.
I think that's the first time I've ever won a game show. It's usually OG or Paula just do well on these.
Yeah, Paulette, how many of the game shows have you done? Is this your first game show?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember, Len, you ever winning. Usually you get
I know,
Paulette's
I
luck, so
never
maybe Paulette's picking up your luck here. The other four, you ready to groan at a couple of these? A couple of them are expensive, and I can see them. Your utility bills over your life, and you can lower the cost of your utility bills. Vacations over your life are also end up being a lot of money. Funerals, it was number 10
that one's
on
dumb.
the list. Utility bills, they had at 3, vacations at 4, 10 is funerals. Number 6, I completely disagree. Don't get me wrong. I think this is expensive, but it's because of all the other stuff. Number 6 on this list was paying off debt.
Which is just everything.
Just like interest.
It's just everything.
I mean, I actually thought about interest, but I'm like, well, that's kind of incorporated in all these other answers.
Yeah.
Car payments and mortgages and housing costs.
Well, that's what I thought too.
Okay. Dumb.
This list is from pocketyourdollars.com. We'll link to it in the show notes.
And I think you handle funerals the same way you handle weddings. Just have an open bar and a sweet band.
Just have a big party.
That would be pretty epic, wouldn't it?
Yeah. When my father-in-law died, I thought my mother-in-law did something very great. They had no real ceremony when he passed away, and they waited a few months. And then they had a ceremony where people got up and told stories about him. And it was literally just an hour about these great stories. And by that time, a lot of the grieving was done. And it was so magical to spending time, reminiscing about what a great human being it was. It was super, super cool. So I'm with you, Doug. That is dying is a very, sad event to have happen. The fact that we pause our life for a minute and just remember all the good things about this person, I think is a
get a sick band.
Pretty cool time.
That's what Doug wants on his tombstone. Just get a sick band.
A sick band.
Slayer logo right on the tombstone.
That's going to do it for today. I loved all of your suggestions. I think we should have made this top 10 list. Ours was better. But let's see what's going on. Speaking of better, let's find out what better things you guys are doing than just hanging out with us doing game shows. Mr. Penzo, what's happening at lenpenzo.com?
You know what? Just because OG brought it up, I am going to post today the water challenge that we did many years. So this is something that happened a few years ago, but just because I'll be honest, I'm gonna have to go back and look and see what the results were. But I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, they couldn't tell the difference between the filtered refrigerated water and the bottled one. Maybe I'm wrong. It's been a while. I'm gonna have to go back and pull that back up and look at it. But I'm going to post that at lenpenzo.com.
Please send my kids to it.
In Detroit, I was with OG that I really couldn't tell much of the difference. Texarkana.
Well, one of them glows.
You're right. You do not drink out of your sink in Texarkana unless, you're hoping to end your life early. Paulette Perhach, what's going on with you right now?
Pitching stories about off-roading and working on a trip to Seattle. So, and then just getting ready for summer and, coaching writers, having lots of fun doing that. I mean, I have one student who's in her 3rd round with me, and I've been going through her entire memoir with her, and it's been awesome.
That's fantastic. And if somebody wants coaching, how do they find you?
ThatWriterPaulette.com.
Awesome. And OG, what do you got going on this weekend besides celebrating St. Patrick's Day?
I am not celebrating St. Patrick's Day, unfortunately, or the basketball tournament, which is going on too. I am in Baltimore for a little after-school activity. It has started already.
Hello, Baltimore.
So
you're in Baltimore. I'm in Cincinnati. We're all over the place this weekend.
We just finished spring break, so it was a quick trip, a little spring break trip, and then Baltimore. And
we will link to Paulette's coaching, and we'll link to lenpenzo.com and water testing on our show notes page at stackingbenjamins.com. Doug, finish this off for us, man. What should we have learned today?
Well, Joe, here's what everybody should have learned. First, take some advice from our panel. Lowering expenses, start with housing, transportation, and groceries, and you're on the right track.
And groceries didn't even make the list. Didn't even make the list.
Oops, who writes these things? Second, take a lesson from Paulette. Sometimes it's your ego driving your expenses. Check that ego at the front door of your 5,000 square foot house and go buy a 94 Camry. But the big lesson? Apparently, permanent hair dye lasts longer than a day. Looks like I'll be celebrating St. Patrick's Day through Easter. Luckily, though, I don't think anybody can see the green through my pants. Wait, what? The 70s are coming back in style. Thanks to OG for joining us. Looking for good financial help? Head to stackingbenjamins.com/OG for his calendar. Thanks also to Paulette Perhach, who helps writers power their words, their work, and their earning potential. Ready to get serious about your writing? Find out more at thatwriterpaulette.com. Len Penzo appears courtesy of lenpenzo.com and thepersistentitch.com. This show is the property of SB Podcasts, LLC, copyright 2023, and is created by Joe Salcihat. Our producer is Karen Repine. This show was written by Lacey Langford, who's also the host of the Military Money Show, with help from me, Joe, and Doc G from the Earn and Invest podcast. Kevin Bailey helps us take a deeper dive into all the topics covered on each episode in our newsletter called The 201. You'll find the 411 on all things money at the 201. Just visit stackingbenjamins.com/201. Tina Eichenberg makes the video version of this show. Once we bottle up all this goodness, we ship it to our engineer, the amazing Steve Stewart. Steve helps the rest of our team sound nearly as good as I do right now. Want to chat with friends about the show later? Mom's friend Gertrude and Kate Yunkin are our social media coordinators, and Gertrude is the room mother in our Facebook group called The Basement. So, say hello when you see us posting online. To join all the basement fun with other stackers, type stackingbenjamins.com/basement. Not only should you not take advice from these nerds, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, speak with a real financial advisor. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and we'll see you next time back here at the Stacking Benjamin Show.
What do you suppose they call that? A novelty act?
I don't know, but it wasn't too bad.
Well, that's a novelty. Ah!